He goes, maybe someday in this cruel world, there can be a new day. Because that would be good. What is, everyone? Welcome to Nerd on the Podcast you didn't need, but you, if you're watching on YouTube, deserve. And where all levels of nerd are psychopaths? Who knows? Today,
all levels of psychopath are welcome?
Yeah, there it is.
That's
all levels of psychopath are welcome. You know what? This first sentence hits. Living in Los Angeles is hard. Making a career as a writer is crazy. But running a dog borrowing business is the riskiest of all three. Today we dive into a nested narrative that Arc is. I've been playing too much Arceus. That Arceus.
There's no H in Arceus.
Arches the twists and turns and maybe even a final shootout. Join us as we discuss the film Seven Psychopaths.
Pew, pew, pew,
Pew, pew, pew, pew, pew.
That's
God, that was the worst intro I think I've ever done to date on one of...
I'm sure we could prove you wrong.
That's true. Yeah. That's fair. Before we get too far into it, I'm Corey.
I'm Tom.
And I am Josh, and this episode is brought to you by the members of the Nerd On Nation that is powered by Patreon. As a member of the Nerd On Nation, you do get fun perks, but there's more. You get boner episodes.
Oh!
You get early access to these episodes. You get access to servers that are only for the Nerd On Nation. Where you can talk to us, you can talk to other members of the Nerd On Nation. There's lots of cool perks, but
Oh,
yeah, it's Tuesday. You get to support us because we like to do this and people tell us that they like that we do this. So we just want to do this more.
Yet to believe them.
Yeah. So check it out. nerdon.tv/Patreon.
How much is it, Tom, to support us?
At least just the minimum is 4 quarters, baby.
Yeah.
4 quarters.
Yeah. I mean, it's like if you wanted to look at coffee, it would be more expensive.
Yes. Correct.
So-
You know, if you had like a stack of pennies,
Yeah.
you could use that to help us.
A stack of pennies.
Stack of pennies.
Stack of pennies.
So yeah, check that out. nerdon.tv/Patreon. And the Discord is an open server that it's big. It's getting bigger.
That's what
all
she
the
said.
time. Wow. So check that out too. nerdon.tv/Discord. And a huge shout out to our partners in crime, Apogee, Odyssey, and
Embody Audio. Embody Audio.
Yeah, check them out. Just good companies, good people. Appreciate them. Though they are like big brands, it's been interesting to get to know them a little bit more. And they just like to run their places like mom and pop shops.
Yep.
It's like little families.
Boutiques.
Yeah, little boutiques. But yeah, that is the housekeeping. Let's get into this like psycho of an episode.
Yeah.
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 This episode is crazy.
Let's get into this killer episode.
There it is.
Well,
I'm at a relief.
I'm just like, yeah. Well, there's 2 things that happened. One, it was the segue into this, but also I was just flabbergasted that I wasn't the lowest common denominator today.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone
I
who's
think it's me so far.
No, it has been you today. Normally it's me, but if you're brand new to Nerd On, this is part of the show where we're going to go into our first 2 segments of the show because this is a completed film, and at the end of it, we are going to rate it. So that's going to bring us to
Guess That
Psychopath!
Psychopath!
And then this guy, and then there's 4,
Why don't you bring a
5,
gun?
6, 7 total. Oh my God! Whoa!
You put me in the movie.
Who could it be? Rabbits.
Yeah. So that is the opening. That is our musical segment for our Guess That Grump sequence.
It's more of a spoken word.
Yeah, it's slam poetry.
Yeah.
Where we're gonna go around the table and guess who out of all of us is going to have the lowest score.
Nope, not doing it.
The lowest score for the week for this episode, and we rate it from 1 out of 5. No matter how high the number is, the lowest one will be the grump for the week.
It's true.
And since I always explain, Corey breaks through, and sometimes
I've grown.
Then I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
And I'm going to guess that it's going to be Josh because Corey suggested the episode. So,
and never I don't think there's ever been in the history of Nerd On where you go,
I'm
like, I really don't like this, so we should do an episode on it.
Not yet.
Yet.
This is our fucking company.
Look at Tom, look into the
fuck,
future.
We can do whatever the fuck we want.
Look at him
So we're
go.
gonna do rubber.
We're gonna do Grease.
We're gonna do Grease.
We're gonna do La La Land.
La La Land,
and then Hot Rod.
Yeah. All right, so you're voting for Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's
I'm
given.
I'm gonna.
What? What?
Oh man, I thought I had this, and then some ideas just popped into my head of what might affect the score. I think I gotta go with Tom on this one.
Ooh.
But I don't know. The thing that popped in my head is telling me not to. It's okay. I'll commit to it.
Fucking commit.
Yeah, I'm gonna commit to it. So, are you sitting at home?
Did Josh vote?
Yeah, he voted for you.
Oh, Jesus.
I just called it.
You're so quick.
He didn't say it. I said you're voting for Tom. And he went, yeah.
Wow.
I gave it a peer pressure.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Smart.
You can vote for whoever you want. You want to vote for
No,
me?
it was gonna be Tom. You were right.
Okay.
But
you didn't get to say it. Why don't you go ahead?
man, this was really
gonna vote
hard.
for Tom?
Yeah, I'm gonna vote for Tom.
Okay, there you go. Hurry up. So listen, are you sitting at home?
Yeah.
Are you sitting at home going, Stimpy, you idiot?
No, I'm trying to look for the toilet paper.
It was a trap. Corey doesn't like Sam Rockwell, never has, never will. And so you should have voted for him. If you're thinking that, you're dumb. But listen, you can vote with your dollars and go to the Nerd On Nation powered by Patreon and vote, boy. Listen, if you get it right the most throughout the year, you get crowned the king. Tom, what is it? I'm never gonna remember.
It's
Vote, boy.
God Emperor Grand Poobah.
That's right. God Emperor Grand Poobah, Guesser Grumper.
It changes every week.
But guess what? On the smaller scale, if you get it right, you get a shout out on the show that week. So go vote. Come on, it's a lot of fun. We give you. I mean, it's fun. We all like it.
I feel like we need to make a poster that's like the "We Need You." Like a
Yeah,
yeah.
that'd
We
be
need
good.
you
to vote.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
vote.
But anyway, people have voted on this episode. Thank y'all. Shout out to them. And they have spoken.
And
Josh, you are their guest.
you are the
For
weakest
real.
link.
So that's 2 for each
Goodbye.
of you and none for me. So it'll be like me, Tom, and then you because you got the Nerd On Nation vote. Keep that suspense rolling. That's it.
So we go into the complete spoiler of that last segment, which is our initial reactions and our first impressions of this film. Since Corey suggested he should go last, since Josh is the guest grumped a nominee, I'll go first.
Okay.
This was my first time watching it. Corey had lent me this DVD Blu-ray, maybe
2 or 3 years ago?
7 years ago.
No.
I mean, it was before the pandemic. The pandemic was been 5 years.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's right.
So
Might have been a decade ago.
Yeah. Before I even moved to LA,
It was definitely like 3 or 4, but it felt like 20.
Yeah, and he always kept talking about it. I had seen 3 Billboards in outside Ebbing, Missouri, and I had seen In Bruges, but I've never seen Seven Psychopaths. I've seen clips and stuff like
For
that.
those of you who don't know, the same writer director for both those other two.
So I'm familiar with Martin McDonagh's work. And again, keeping it out of spoilers. I didn't know what really I was going to get into, other than like it's a movie about 7 psychopaths. What's going to happen? And then you're watching it, and I would say this: I really enjoy Martin McDonagh's writing a lot. I think
yes,
there's something to me that I like about his writing that it feels much more. I think there's some people like the Coen brothers, Tarantino, who they're known for like their quote unquote realistic dialogue,
right?
But that has some wit and some flair to it. I think if you want to go more into like just pure human conversation, Mark Duplass is probably like one of the best ones, even though there's a little bit of mumblecore. But here I feel like Martin McDonagh is like a truly kind of almost like what's his name? Shane Black.
Okay.
Where there is a little bit of a quirk with each character,
Kiss,
but
kiss,
then
bang, bang, stuff
yeah,
like that.
nice guys. And there's a fun entertainment value from the kind of mundane conversation, but even though that like they're kind of talking about like really stupid, like highball, half-baked dumb shit.
Yeah.
So that was probably like one of my things that I really took away from this and watching. I was like, okay, now I'm starting to get it. And the cool thing about Martin McDonagh's stories, at least for this one, it kind of highlights it, where it's like take kind of semi not specific like special people. You know, they could be in a cooler, different place than you are, but you know these stories happen just anywhere, anytime, and they just happen all the time, everywhere.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really fun and enjoyable. I did like how the story unfolded, and also like how you got to know each character and where they came from, and also a little bit you got to really attach yourself to them too. But I'll leave it at that. And
Josh,
who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. So back in 2005, a movie came out called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And I really loved it. Fell in love with the movie. A couple of years later, a friend of mine was like, "Oh, you like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang? You're probably gonna like this movie that just came out." I was working at Hollywood Video at the time. Shout out and R.I.P.
Whoa! I don't mean to laugh. I just wasn't expecting that.
It was on the new release wall at the time, and one of my coworkers came in and was like, "Oh man, I really like this movie. You should watch it." And I watched it, and I fucking loved In Bruges back to front.
Yeah.
And then
you're an inanimate fucking object.
And then a few years later, this came out, and of course, I was just like, because I think one of the like promo lines was like from the writer director of In Bruges, and I was all in, and like watching this, I was like, "Yep, I've made a smart decision. This is amazing." I just appreciate the humor. I am also a fan of just kind of ridiculous conversations that people have that have points and no points at the same time, and they're just kind of like, we'll get into spoilers later. So it's I don't.
You like the movie?
This movie is so good.
Yeah.
And the cast is just
stacked.
Yeah, it's stacked, and yeah, I don't want to give away too much, so yeah.
On a beautiful morning in 2012,
wow, the
wife and I went and saw this because it had Sam Rockwell, Colin Farrell, Christopher Walken, Woody Harrelson, ... etc. And we're like, yeah, writer of In Bruges, we're gonna go see this thing. And I remember walking out of the theater being like, I think this came out in October, end of the year, I want to say. I could be totally wrong. But I remember walking out of the theater and being like, this is like the best movie I've seen in a long time. This is the movie I want to make.
I think I remember at first I was like, that's a strange title.
Yeah.
But I'm in. And I remember the trailer being a little like, boom, boom, boom. I
don't remember
boom,
the trailer,
boom.
but I'm going to check it out after this episode for sure. But whatever it was, it sold me on it. And so we went and saw it. And yeah, I walked out being like, that was my favorite movie of the year by far. Which was saying a lot because I think Avengers came out that year too.
Yeah.
But this stole the cake for me. It's right up my alley with the right type of comedy, dark comedy, little absurdist comedy. To Tom's point, the writing is like, yeah, screwball kind of shit, but the way it's delivered and the way it's written is just, it hits some sort of nerve in my brain that goes, yes, this is the way you want your comedies to be.
This is the way.
And so, yeah, I loved the movie, which is why I suggested it here today. And I can't talk about it without going into more spoilers, but this is one of those ones. There's a handful of movies that I will quote in my day-to-day life, and this is a heavy hitter in that category.
So with that should give the listeners some idea of who's going to be the grump for this episode. And now we'll move on to our next two segments, which are going to be our brief synopsis and then our production.
Brief is brought to you by Joshua. Sweet baby Josh.
Boozy writer Marty, Colin Farrell, is a man in search of a screenplay. He has a catchy title, but no story to go along with it. Marty has a couple of oddball buddies, Hans, Christopher Walken, and Billy, Sam Rockwell, who make a living by kidnapping rich people's dogs, then returning them and collecting the reward. However, this time, the fur flies when Hans and Billy kidnap the beloved pooch of a gangster, Woody Harrelson, and Marty uses the ensuing events as fodder for his screenplay.
Dog borrowing business.
It's
true. I ain't talking about that shit neither.
And the production will be by me, distributed by CBS Films, who has distributed such films such as The Mechanic, The Duff, and Inside Llewyn Davis. The director, Martin McDonagh, who's worked on such films as Six Shooter, In Bruges, and Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Producers, Graham Broadbent from Welcome to Sarajevo, The Debt Collector, and The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. Peter Serzin from Now Is Good, Wind Chill, and The Riot Club. And Martin McDonagh also produced this, who's produced such things as The Second Death, The Guard, and Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. The writer is Martin McDonagh, who has written such things as Six Shooter, The Pillow Man, and The Beauty Queen of Leenane. The cast is Colin Farrell, who's worked on such things such as The Lobster, Daredevil, and SWAT. Sam Rockwell on such things as Iron Man 2, Moon, and Vice. Woody Harrelson from Zombieland 2, Now You See Me, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, Christopher Walken from The Deer Hunter, The Boondock Saints, and Mouse Hunt. The release date. There's
also real quick. Bonnie the dog plays Bonnie the dog.
All right.
Nice.
That was, it was important.
The release date for the film has 3 of them. It released initially at September 7th, 2012 at the TIFF Film Festival. I think that's Toronto International Film Festival. At United States, October 12th. So, Corey, you were right on the money.
Nice.
2012. And then to the United Kingdom, December 5th, 2012. The runtime for the film is 110 minutes. Its budget was $13.5 in the range of $15 million, and it grossed $33 million. The Rotten Tomatoes score is 83% from critics from 219 reviews and 71 from audience from 100,000 plus ratings. And that is all the production. Now we can move into the complete spoilers of everything. So if you haven't watched the film yet, please
all
do
the
so.
Spoilers.
We're going to do our favorite parts, favorite characters, our qualms, and finally our rating. So Corey, go first. What is your favorite part?
Absolute favorite part of this entire film is Billy's story. Billy's story time.
Mm-hmm.
When he reads,
when he's doing the,
he's acting out his idea for the big shootout.
Mm-hmm.
He goes on this. I want to say like probably 4 or 5 minute monologue through this story, and is acting it out in the middle of the desert on peyote, and it's a brilliant performance not only by Sam Rockwell but everyone involved as well, because he ends it after this host. He's got different quotes that stand out to me, like "fucking mow down," stuff like that.
Oh,
Jesus,
Abby Cornish.
Oh Jesus, Billy, you're my best friend. And he ends it with this line that Dana and I will quote anytime we're talking about something that we want to do and we don't know how to wrap it up. He goes, maybe someday in this cruel world, there can be a new day. Because that would be good. And that last line, that would be good, is what Dana and I quote probably like 3 or 4 times a week. Like, I think we should do this thing outside because that would be good. And it's stuck in our head. But then it follows up with Christopher Walken going, I liked it. And Colin Farrell's like, you did? He goes, yeah. He's talking about how it's like creative and stuff. And it just, that whole scene encapsulates everything I love about this movie.
But what I love about that scene is there's actually silence for a second of like, and I just love their facial expressions. It's a little like Simon Pegg in Hot Fuzz when he watches Shakespeare, where it's like,
yeah,
just befuddled, of
and
like
when Christopher Walken says, I like it, and then Sam Rockwell goes, oh, you did? Like he's so excited that someone liked it.
One of my favorite parts is a little soon
it's got
after.
Layers. That's what it is.
A little bit afterwards when Walken's talking to Marty about the script, and he's talking about women characters having no depth, and
yeah.
But I love that Marty's like, writing women is hard, and Hans is like, yeah, being a woman is hard, but the women I know can put a sentence together.
Most of the women I know can string a sentence together.
I really enjoyed this is probably a big spoilers with Christopher Walken's death in the film, and then later on Marty gets listening to the tape recorder.
Jesus.
And then he tells the new version of the story of the psychopath that he created.
It's really good,
and it's really touching. And it was kind of one of those like, this is not the way, brother. And I was like, oh wow. And then like they take it, they
got the joke at the end.
Yeah, but it was cool because so the film it has a nested narrative, which if you're not familiar with that term, they use a lot for more books. It's when like a story is being told within a story. And so they use those stories to kind of bridge other stories happening from it. I think the most famous one is Alibaba and the 40 Thieves.
Yeah.
And the story of this woman who is about to get killed. So she tells the Sultan like hundreds of stories.
Yeah. Arabian Nights.
And so it's cool just to kind of like see that happen in visual storytelling, and then also have it done where there are multiple stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so the entire time you're kind of like, it's a fun thing that I really like going, and maybe I'm weird or crazy, but it's like, I'm getting more bang for my buck. If I went to watch this in the movie theater, I didn't watch one movie. I watched like several movies at the same time of one movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like one of those kind of, things where they are starting to string along. And when you see the reveal of who Christopher Walken is in there, and you're like, oh, like that's really cool. Cause they explain like, oh yeah, this one person slit his throat too. And you're like, oh,
it's a cravat.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of which, the power move that Hans has in the hospital with
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson's Charlie, just like taking it off and slowing and just freaking him out. Yeah.
I want you to have it.
Yeah.
It's fucking so good.
Next.
Oh, no,
that was one of my favorite parts.
I was just jumping in with you.
No.
Do you have another part?
No, I was softballing it to you.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, I'm still stuck on that scene because I thought you were gonna go deeper into it. I wanted to discuss it with you.
No, go.
For me, another favorite part would probably be now I'm blanking because I'm so stuck on that scene.
Well, what did you like about that scene?
It's a touching scene because like you get to see Christopher Walken is kind of this almost indifferent character through the whole thing.
Well, because he lost the woman in his life.
Right. Well, she's in the hospital, right? So before that,
I was gonna say after that point, but yeah.
Before that, he's kind of a pacifist and he doesn't want anything. He's in the dog borrowing business, but he doesn't really kind of show more emotion beyond like, I'm in this moment, I'm here now, and like it's his puke, their blood, his puke.
Well, I mean, it's also kind of, this specific scene, what I love about it is that Hans is, he's a pacifist. He's like, being a dog borrower, it's like they're not hurting the dogs or anything like that. They're just kind of using a system. And like, it's kind of a moment, like in another movie, he might go on a revenge spree, but he's kind of, and broken isn't the right word, but it's kind of like, you've kind of fucked with the wrong guy in a sense of like, but he's going to do you dirty with head games in a sense of like, he's going to use his words to break you down. Like, it's just like when the road scene when he's like, put your hands up. And he's like, no, I don't want to. That doesn't make sense. I just
too bad.
And he doesn't
but I got a gun.
shit.
So
he doesn't give a shit. And because his wife just meant so much to him. Mm-hmm. And which is so endearing. I love to see that.
Yeah.
Which I think is a cool point of the film too, is that like there is a lot of subversion of things where, the final shootout, there's no like big final shootout like how it was imagined. You have that no moment where it's like, put your hands up. And it's like we're resisting the urge to kind of play into like the situational stereotypes that would happen. And I think there's also that sense of, Woody Harrelson being like, I'm this cruel dude, but also like, I just want my dog back. And, it's like, he gets into so much shit and like
don't bring guns.
Exactly. Has this like bloody spree going to get to the point of like trying to get his dog back. But it's like, there's that, I think there's that funness of it where it's just like, this is not like any story that's typically been told.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was so touching when he's just like, no, go back to 5. Can't go back to 5. It was just, my absolute favorite scene is actually the last scene with the phone booth and Zachariah. Mm-hmm. It's just, Zachariah just as a character just cracks me up with the rabbit, but it's also
Tom Waits.
Yeah. Tom Waits I just love Tom Waits, but I'm going to be over to kill you Tuesday. That's good. I'm not doing anything Tuesday. And then he just kind of goes, he can hear what Marty's been through just in how he's talking.
Yeah.
And he's like, you sound like you've been through a ringer. And he's like, I have. And he's like, you know what? Tuesday doesn't work for me. Can I get back to you? It just makes me just like,
I'll be here.
Just talking about murdering somebody. I like the subversion of,
but also interrupting the credits.
Yeah.
For that scene was pretty great.
Also, it's a nice homage to Phone Booth.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
You know what? Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. Another like cinematic masterpiece.
Yeah, it's a cinematic
starring Colin Farrell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
the same thing.
This is the PBCU, the Phone Booth Cinematic.
Phone Booth Cinematic Universe.
No.
Yeah, I think that's right.
This is actually the after credits anyway.
Yeah.
You had to be there.
I think, there's fun things I really enjoyed as well. Just kind of like the introduction of each character. I think that was pretty fun because you got to just really infer their relationships with each other. Especially like with the opening scene where you're just like, these two guys on a bridge and all of a sudden like, bam, they get shot. You're like, okay, this is the movie I'm getting into.
That opening is one of my favorites in movie history.
And then, you go straight, then later on you go into, characters and you're like seeing like, okay, this is it. When we first see Woody Harrelson in the bathroom, it's like, okay, this is like they're very good at establishing each character and kind of getting you enough what you need to know. You don't need another backstory or where they're at, but you get to see their actions and be like, okay, you don't mess with this guy, and when you think he's gonna shoot you, he's not. But when he does, you're not gonna see it coming. It's like it's pretty fun in that way. And then when you get those characters to be in the same scene, you're like, oh, I wonder how this is gonna play out. So I think there's a good level of like suspense that Martin McDonagh does, and I think. Like you see that throughout all of his work, and this is one of those like it's what would you say, sophomore, right? Because if In Bruges came before this, then this would be the second film afterwards. It's like, oh, okay, I'm getting to see like what I liked in Bruges, and then seeing that later on, and then when you see that in his later works, you're like, oh, okay, this is how it works out.
Also, with the opening sequence having Michael Stolberg and Michael Pitt, like at the time they were in Boardwalk Empire, and they were still. Not saying that they were small, but they weren't as known as they are now. And it was kind of, for me, I was like, oh, hey, the guys, I know those guys. And I love Stolberg. I just think that he's
the guy who's in Steve Jobs.
I believe so.
He's the one in Boardwalk Empire.
Right. I think, but he's the guy in Steve Jobs when he's like, God made the world in 7 days.
Oh yeah.
And he goes, well, when you figured out, when you tell us how you did it, or something like that. What is it? What's the line? Because that was my favorite line.
Yeah, it's like
that's him.
Yeah.
Someday you'll have to tell us how you did it.
Yeah. I just think he's a wonderful actor. But I love when like really good actors are in a movie for just like a couple of seconds, and their only purpose is to die. But I love it.
The dialogue there is so
they
brilliant.
die so well.
Yeah. Well, and their conversation it moves pretty great. They got some great chemistry together. Talking about like the different tortures and stuff like that.
That's in the ear. That would be a completely different subject.
That's a different fucking conversation altogether. One of my favorite things isn't even a moment. It's just a character trait that Billy Bickle has, where when people ask him or didn't hear what he says it the exact same way as the first time. So he's like, Kai and I got in an argument. He's like, well, why don't you call her and find out? What? Well, why don't you call her and find out? Or when he's reading the paper and he's like, oh, shoot, reading the paper, huh? What? Oh, shoot, reading the paper, huh?
But in a different like way because he's an actor.
Yeah, but it's like
take two.
It's almost the exact, but he still has the same sort of like, oh, shoot. That little piece of character choice for me is one of my favorite things that he does. I think it happens 3 or 4 times in the movie. But it's a little, or the Yakuza.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Fuck, I lost it. Must have been a lie.
Well, I have another one.
Do it.
It's when Colin Farrell's reading Billy Bickle's journal, and he's talking about how much he cares about his friends and all that kind of stuff. But it ends
I have
with
to really help him out make this movie and all that stuff.
Yeah. P.S. Don't burn the neighbor's flag down. And he looks. You see a shot of Billy looking at it right in the past, and then Colin looks up at it, and it's totally just torched. Totally,
and it's still there at the end of the film too.
Yeah. Just little nods like that. I like those moments.
I mean, this is one of those. It's always really. This is one of those movies and subjects to do an episode on that it's like once you get started, favorite parting. Like for me, I was like, well, shoot, now I'm on to page 2, and it's like
your brain just kind of like starts flooding.
Then
with
there's
favorite
that.
Parts.
Then there's and it's there's a all right. I love this circular thing that happens towards the beginning, probably the first 20 minutes when first Marty's telling Billy, don't call my girlfriend a bitch. And then
being a fucking bitch issues.
And then like a couple of scenes later, he gets kicked out of the house for calling his girlfriend a fucking bitch. And it's just like, saw what you did there.
Yeah.
There's, I forget which movie we talked about it in, but there's lots of referencing and circular things happening where it's like, remember when we did that thing before? Now we're going to do it again, but in a different situation and a little bit changed just a tiny bit. And
probably the Cornetto trilogy.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Another favorite part of mine is the eye for an eye and the whole world goes blind. I wholeheartedly believe that the thinking that you can see Sam Rockwell do in character, it sells that whole next moment for me. No, it isn't. There'd still be one guy with one good eye. Just have to fucking hide. Gandhi was full of shit, man. Just don't have the balls to call him out on it. I think that might have been the moment in the trailer, now that I'm remembering, where I was like, I gotta see this. I have to see this. The three of their dynamic also is just pretty great together. Like when Colin Farrell's telling the story in the bar to Hans about him.
No.
And, and then Sam Rockwell comes back. He's like, no. Or when, that, because there's that moment talking about circular at the party where Colin Farrell's telling the story and Sam's like, I told him that story. He shouldn't be telling that story. And then you find out why, and he's telling it to Hans, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So little moments, the payoffs you're talking about. Like
I mean, talk about just like the whole cast is strong. Like the whole, like even the little characters, like we were talking about the beginning scene, like these two characters talking about a way of killing somebody a certain way, and they're just, everybody's just solid. And it's a really good ensemble piece. Too.
I mean, that shootout scene definitely has that too, where all the people from the story start coming into and they all get mowed down too, and you're like, okay.
In the storytelling,
yeah, and
story,
so you see like the Vietnamese dude, and then you see like the couple, and then they die holding their hands.
Oh, and the backstory of Zachariah and Maggie. That's what I mean. If I had to pick a favorite psychopath, I'm just like, oh yeah,
Zachariah.
It's just like,
they should count as one.
Yeah. Serial killers.
And they're at the Zodiac's house,
and then he can't do it, right? Isn't that, or he quits?
Well, she's so brutal. He's like, no, and then like
because he almost gets the rabbit. That's right.
Yeah. He's like, do you think just because I carry rabbits doesn't mean I'm? Yeah. So
you didn't take me seriously.
Yeah.
Did you leave me a voicemail talking about how you were gonna pull my insides out? No. Okay, you seem legit. Why don't you come on in? I love that.
Any other favorite parts, Corey?
I mean, I really could go on all day about this.
Yeah, this whole movie, like, again, this whole movie, when I was watching it, it was very, very hard to, because something would pass and I would be laughing. I'd be like, oh, fuck, I forgot to write that down. Oh, fuck, I forgot to write that down. There's so much.
When Hans, when he goes, why don't we just call the cops? No cops. And you're like, oh, geez. No cops. All right, no cops.
I did like when
he doesn't like cops.
When the reversal, or I guess the dark part happens around to the third act, where Woody Harrelson has had the tables turn finally, and now like they're in control, and then he gets Colin Farrell back in the car. He's like, "What? Don't be like that. Why are you so upset?" It's like you had what? Oh, one friend dies. Like I had like 3 of my guys die. My girlfriend
I've had 6 friends die.
He's like, I've had way worse.
You're 3.
Yeah, and so I thought that was just kind of funny of like comparing woes to each other, but also it's like
he has that line like, "Don't you want a gun?" I don't believe him. You don't believe in guns?
They're not leprechauns.
They're not fairies.
But also in the when he and his goon show up and he's like, I didn't kill your dog, he killed your dog, and the other guy just goes,
yeah. Oh yeah, the same guy who shot Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
And he's like,
oh no, I didn't kill your friend, he killed your friend. And it's just like, come on, man.
Dude, that guy's in all of Martin McDonagh's movies, by the way.
Yeah, he's
like a buddy of his.
He's one of those actors that is like,
I like you, old man.
He is in a lot of things.
Yes.
He's in a lot of things, and he's wonderful in everything that he does.
Yeah.
But you go, hey, what's that one actor's name? I don't fucking know.
He's
great.
He's that guy.
Yeah, he's that guy.
That guy.
Same with the guy from Grounded for Life. When he gets out of the car with the gun and he does that like weird walk up to Christopher Walken. That actor, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but everything I've seen him in, he's wonderful.
There's actually a documentary, and I don't remember where it is, but it's like that one. I think it's called That One. One actor.
Oh yeah.
And it's a whole bunch of actors that you're like, oh,
I know them.
There's a famous extra.
Yeah.
The bigger boy with the glasses and the curly hair.
Yeah.
He is everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, every background. Last thing I want to talk about here.
Crispin Glover being in the background.
What?
Crispin Glover is in the court scene in the background.
I didn't even notice.
It was just like Bonnie and I paused. We were like, that's Crispin Glover.
Is it really? From Back to the Future?
Yeah.
Yeah. He came into our store once. Very cool. I want to talk a moment about Woody Harrelson's portrayal as a villain in this, because you do hate him, but you also
love him.
For those moments that Tom brought up, don't be so mopey. I've had 6 friends to your 2. That's 4 more friends have died. Like
just every time.
Rationale.
I mean, this feels like anytime the gun doesn't go off, and like you kind of feel bad for the guy. You're kind of like,
I like the blue grips.
Is this at all like because he's one of my favorite characters?
No. We'll move into that in a second, but yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I mean, he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
But you just can't help but feel for him as a dog lover, as a dog parent. You're just kind of like, aw.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that brings out his sweetness.
Just his dog.
Bonnie.
But he likes the blue grips.
Yeah.
I like the blue on the grips. Last favorite moment for me is Billy's story coming to an end. And he gets the paw. Paw. And when I first saw it, of course, I was sad. But Tom knows this, that I'm a big fan of beloved characters suddenly being offed in a way, and I thought this was a nice way to do it. Where Colin Farrell can see him slip the card into the collar, and he's like, "Oh shit, this is gonna go down." Yeah,
You're a smart cheese.
And just like I don't know, I thought it was a nice wrap up to his story because there was nowhere else. He wanted the final shootout. He's getting his big final shootout at that same spot that he points out on the way in or whatever. And so yeah, it was sad at first, but I came to really love that he ends up dying in it because he's also killed a fuck ton of people.
I also like when crazy characters, crazy or seemingly crazy, are also incredibly smart.
Yeah.
Like he's just like
stupid smart
and like figuring out I mean, it doesn't work out, but it's like
he's got the guns labeled. Each person with the name tags.
Yeah. To that point of his end, I do think it was nice because it was a little telegraphed because you kind of just felt like, even though he is a psychopath killer who has killed all these people, killed his girlfriend and stuff like that, who's also Woody Harrelson's girlfriend. Yeah. But like,
I mean, chlamydia or something.
There is that sense that he's just like, my ultimate destination is to be of service to Marty, and so you're kind of like, he's going to die a martyr death for sure. And but then it's kind of one of those things like it'll be nice when it happens because it will be kind of this really bittersweet moment that there will be like, even though like around the end of their friendship, like there was just a lot of friction and it's just like, oh my God, what are you doing? You're causing all these problems towards us and kind of escalating things unnecessarily. But then it is to
like when he finds out he's the Jack of Diamonds.
Yeah, and then blows up the car and like, like
I'll give you one hint.
Yeah, and so
the cops.
It's that kind of thing.
Called them.
So it's one of those like, oh, he's gonna go out in like a blaze of glory kind of thing in his own way, and it was one of those like, I was like, yeah, it was like, this is gonna be sad, but it was enjoyable.
They make you feel a little better because of how Colin Farrell realizes it. He's kind of got that smile. He's like, final shootout. What did you just say? Nothing. Just something a friend said. I think it's a good ending.
So now let's go to favorite characters.
I wasn't trying to rush. It was just we were talking about a specific character.
You were looking for that sweet segue.
Yeah, the what is the
parameters? We'll do
parameters.
We'll do two. We'll do two.
I mean, he wasn't technically on the top of my list.
So my qualms are. Sorry.
We did it.
See?
Tom got back to the bottom.
Well, everybody, that is our episode. No, Billy's my number one.
Uh-huh.
I love every single scene, but I mean, I'm partial to Sam Rockwell. Like I remember seeing him in The Green Mile and just being like, that guy.
Oh, what a bastard.
That
what
guy.
A bastard in that.
And he was just like always on my radar because I mean, bastards usually are really great actors. And
if you don't like the character, you could still like the actor.
Yeah.
That means they just did their job
because there's a willingness to go there.
Potter?
Oh,
who plays Lady in Pink.
Oh, yeah.
Umbridge.
Yeah. Umbridge.
Hate her.
Same thing with
great actress.
Joffrey.
Yeah. I mean, just wonderful. Like, as an actor, I'm like, man, the willingness to just like, and that's what as an actor, I'm learning of just like the willingness to go there and just like be able to commit and just Billy is just so funny. And Hans, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, he has an interesting story and it's Christopher Walken. Come on.
Yeah.
And he becomes really sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corey, you or me?
Go ahead.
Hans first. Hans first.
Had a feeling.
To me, he has like the most storied story almost. Like he had this past, and then also again, like Corey said, like he's you're unsuspecting that he's going to be like this killer, and you're like, oh shit, that's really cool.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just because it is something that for some reason even though I've seen this multiple times, I couldn't. Which character in that story was he? Was he the young guy or the?
He's the Quaker.
Okay.
Yeah. He was the Quaker who some guy killed his daughter.
Okay, for some reason I just couldn't connect it in my brain of like which one was he?
Because I think there's a flashback where you see him. He's at the hospital and he's wearing the Quaker outfit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's wearing
for some reason I just couldn't. I couldn't piece it together in my brain of like which one was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a little bit of when you watch it and he starts explaining the story, he's like, and then the Quaker does this, and then Christopher Walken takes off the thing at the same time. He doesn't do it when and then the young man did this, and then he did it. So yeah, Hans for sure. And then I'd have to say Marty.
Yeah.
I think there's a level of him being like, audience surrogate.
I was gonna wait. You identify with Marty, don't you?
No. I can defend whoever I'm dating a lot better. But
Kaya.
that being said, no, I just kind of liked a little bit of his like, he is straight man. He is the straight man to it all. So he's kind of just trying to run with the logic of it all, where everyone around him has no logic in that sense. But also at the end of the day, like you do get a clear want and need from him. And I do like the fact that like it's very well telegraphed. It's like, oh, I want this story, but he ends up needing is the relationships that he gets from those stories. And then it ends up fulfilling his book. He's Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He writes the Lord of the Rings.
I apologize for this turn of phrase, but he sticks to his guns in the sense of like there was a moment where he thinks, you can see it in his face where he thinks about taking the gun, but he's like, oh no, I don't believe in them kind of thing. Or it's like, I appreciate that in this crazy scenario, it'd be very easy to make a switch.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's the, the trademark of good writing and good character writing is that your characters have to believe in something. If their characters are just born yesterday, then you'll see that. But then if you have characters who have stipulations and have belief systems, like moments that they break or moments that they don't break are really important. Really, really weird side tangent is a movie like Midnight Meat Train, where Bradley Cooper's character is like, I'm vegan. And then all of a sudden one day he's like, give me beef. And it's like, you didn't really do a lot to like make us give a shit about it. But here it's like, okay, yeah, he's a pacifist.
Yeah.
Corey?
Billy.
Mm-hmm.
Billy off like way above everyone else. Just his little aside, like his dialogue was written really well. Obviously Sam Rockwell is a very gifted actor. Like the scene when he's talking about Marty's alcoholism, he's like, you're fucked from birth. You're Irish.
Tolerance.
The Spanish have bullfighting, the French have cheese, and the Irish have alcoholism. What do Americans have, Billy? Tolerance. Beautiful delivery. So it's Billy, crazy high, and Hans, not too far behind. The two of them together are just peas in a pod, and I love their understanding for each other. I love that. I'm trying to remember the exact wording, but there's a moment where Colin Farrell's just over it. He's like, it's fucking great. You know what that is? Great. And then Christopher Walken goes, you talk about psychopaths so much, but it's a little tiring being around them, don't you think? And so like those little moments there where he's totally understanding of everybody, has the patience of a saint.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he's talking about seeing his dead wife, and then Billy tries to be like, oh, that was me. I could do a great impression. And he's kind of touched that he would lie like that. And he's like, all right, well, you can't go wrong. And it's Christopher Walken. So.
Christopher Walken.
Those are my two.
So consensus is we all love Hans.
Yes. Yes.
Next part,
seems
which is
to be the common denominator.
The favorite character of this episode is Hans.
The next part is going to be our qualms. So, Corey, how many qualms do you have?
How many qualms do you not have?
How many do I not have? How many qualms do I not have?
At least
all of them.
At least two. He doesn't have at least two.
Yeah. I don't have any qualms. There isn't a thing I would change about this.
He's got 99 qualms and they're not this movie.
Yeah.
Josh?
I mean, it's a reaching qualm, but there's a part of me walking away going like, am I a fucking idiot for not knowing which character like Hans is in that story? The only thing that it was where the original story took place. It was the timing of it, like the era of it. Like I was like, to me, it didn't make sense for Hans to be
to be 2 years older, not like 50 years older.
Yeah, because it was like, all right.
Yeah, I mean that's where he says you got a couple things wrong with the story.
Yeah,
and then schools him.
Yeah.
But it created a disconnect for you a little bit.
But again, that is a total reaching qualm. Like this is one of those movies that I've said it before where I have to watch it multiple times just to make sure that I don't have qualms.
Yeah.
And it's like I walk away from this movie going, I love this movie. I like this movie a lot.
It's fun.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. I think my first one is going to be I like a Sam Rockwell. But I feel like Billy's character was just, to me, very annoying.
Oh, all right.
I think the thing that irritated me
so
about...
now we rate.
The thing that irritating for me was just like, there was a little bit of like I don't know how I really cared or was just like, oh, okay, here it is. He's that killer. He's the killer, right? And it was like, okay, cool. So now the baddest, coolest killer is now on our team. So I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But he kind of felt like to me he lost a little bit of like his mystique and mysterious. Like it felt like he should have been able to switch on a dime, but it was just like, no, I'm just gonna be this killer. And I think at the final shootout where like he throws out the 2 guns, he's like, I saw that there. I was like, no,
Yeah.
like it kinda,
All right.
So the thing is, I like that part of Billy. But I didn't like that part of what's his name,
Jack of Diamonds.
Jack of Diamonds. Like it made it feel like those are 2 different characters, and it felt almost like a quote unquote better Bruce Wayne Batman thing, or
Sure.
like Batman's this way, Bruce Wayne's this way, Billy's this way, Jack of Diamonds is this way. And then when it was revealed it was him, I was like, well, they just feel like different characters now. Instead of like, oh, I'm going to reveal who it is, and it's going to be like, I don't know, Christopher Walken instead. So like that character overall like irritated me in that sense. I don't dislike his interactions with everyone, but that's what annoyed me was like, oh, he's supposed to be this cool killer guy.
You couldn't make the jump of like,
it didn't feel like, for me, it didn't help me be like, okay, cool. Well, go put your red mask on and go kill everyone and then come back and the movie's over. But it felt like, okay, but we're going to stay in this Billy character. Because I did like how he was like, oh, I really care about Marty. And even though his girlfriend's a bitch. And he's like, I really want to help him make this movie. I can't be selfish anymore.
He's a good writer.
Like, I liked those things. And then, like, to have this whole, like, oh, well, he's also this killer dude. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. But it kind of made it weird for me where it's like, if they didn't have to have that at all and just had him be like, oh, I could kill people. And he's like, I have a bunch of guns. And it's like, okay, this guy has a bunch of guns.
Yeah.
Cool. That would have been just fine. So having that both points, and I was just like, all right, whatever. So it just felt to me like a little superfluous. And then the second thing, which is that the thing that I kind of like said that I liked, but it had me at a little bit at odds. There felt like there was a big telegraph of like what was going to happen with each character. Like I was like, Marty's going to have a story where everyone's dead and all this stuff happening. Like I knew this kind of like by the time they were going to the desert, I was like, at this point, it's like everything's gonna be resolved. He's gonna be fine. These 2 are probably gonna die, and it's like because they have nowhere else to go as characters. And then there's just a moment where it's like, yeah, the story kind of at that point, I felt like, well, I'm not gonna watch for the story. Now I'm gonna watch for the performances.
Sure.
So it felt which is good. I think every writer should really focus on their characters more than their plots. And sometimes some people just get way into plot and their characters do stupid shit. Where here I was just like, all right, cool. And I think it is carried a lot by all the actors' performances. And I think to me, it's the beautiful synergy between, the writing, directing, and the producing, the set, and the actors delivering the lines to kind of convey what's happening to it. But I knew for a fact by the time we revealed that he was the Jack of Diamonds, I was like, okay, this whole thing's going to be subverted. So it's not going to be anything what's going to happen, what they're playing out to. So I'm like, I know what this is going to happen. Kind of like at this point, we've done Bo Burnham's Inside.
Yeah.
There's a moment like, I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. And it kind of takes away a little bit of the fun. So you have to try to enjoy the performances instead. So
Yeah.
That was my one thing. That's more of like a writing qualm. But those are my 2 qualms.
All right.
Now we can move on to
ratings.
the rating. So now it's me first, then you.
No,
it's
me,
Corey.
Then you, then Josh.
Okay, Josh.
5.
5 for Corey.
Surprise,
How
surprise.
surprising.
It's got everything I want in a movie. It's got dark comedy, people die, Sam Rockwell.
But did he danced? He danced a little bit, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, he danced. I was like, you have to have Sam Rockwell dance in a movie.
that's all you need for them to get a 5.
Sam Rockwell dancing.
Not wrong, right?
No,
Yeah.
just Sam
there it
Rockwell
is.
dancing. Dangerous Minds.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
For me, it is a 4. Solid 4.
Oh, okay.
Solid 4. Solid 4. Solid 4.
Masterpiece level.
Yeah.
All right.
Solid 4. Josh.
You want to put it in? You want
Is
to type it
a
in?
5? Here's a 5 for Josh.
Yeah, it's a 5.
Yay!
I put a 6 on accident.
I'm also. I
I'll
mean,
put me down for 6 if you're giving out 6s.
I mean, Marty McDonagh. I think he's just. I love what he does. 3 Billboards is amazing.
Playwright, director.
Yeah,
movie
whatever.
writer. Does it all.
Yeah. This movie is perfect.
To your point, those 3 movies, like, oh, you could tell those are his movies, which I really
And
like.
My qualm, it's like, if anything, I wouldn't hold it against them. I'd hold it against myself. Like maybe I would need to Pay more attention, Josh.
Yeah.
God.
Get off the IMDb.
Yeah.
Stop,
Yeah.
Dick. Stop texting us during the movie.
Yeah.
We only get one shout out today, by the way.
Oh.
Mitchell G.
Ooh.
Gets that shout out today. You guessed
Boom.
Tom.
I'm sorry, all you voters who voted for Josh. I'm so sorry.
I got one too.
And he's going to hold it against them for the rest
There
of
you
their
have
lives. That is
You're
our
the guesser,
episode.
gator, psychopath, dog borrowing,
Cravat wearing.
Hiya, Kaya, guesser.
Yeah.
Borrower.
So that is our episode on Seven Psychopaths. If you have seen the movie, what did you think? Tell us. Continue the conversation in Discord. That's my favorite part, at least. I mean, I never asked you guys, but it's my favorite part to just continue the conversation in Discord. I mean, you could go to
His
the
favorite
DMs.
part's not this episode. It's the happening after the episode.
Yeah. Well, I just mean that's my favorite way to continue the conversation, like, of our episodes. Like, you can go to the Discord. You can also go to our social media. If you haven't seen Seven Psychopaths, you got really far into this episode, and we talked a lot about it. There's a lot of spoilers, so I hope you still go and watch it.
I hope we sold you on it.
I hope
my two qualms didn't avert
Exactly.
you from that, because you know what? Maybe I didn't get it, and I'm not smart enough.
Yeah, exactly. But to check out more of what we do, go to our website, nerdon.tv. It has all of the links to everything that we do, including video episodes. We do video episodes, and they're on YouTube.
Like right now, we're recording this.
Let's
Yeah.
get digital.
We're gonna get. So check out our
That's where the real
YouTube
world
and wherever you are listening, because we are everywhere podcasts can be heard. Stop by, rate, review, share us with your friends, your family, your enemies, the psychopaths you know. Everybody, share it with them. That's how we grow. And then, ow. And then,
Josh has ate Corey's finger.
yep. I think that's it. I mean, check out the Nerd On Nation. That really is, it is how we've been able to continue doing this. We're like halfway through our 5th year.
Oh God.
Wow.
Why do you have to say it like that?
That's a lot. We in the way that we've been able to continue
My back
doing
just
that
went out.
is the Nerd On Nation. They keep the lights on and upgrade our lights
Yeah.
and our cameras and everything, and we appreciate them. It's a cool bunch to be a part of. Check it out. Check out that Nerd On Nation. I'm gonna look at this camera. Check out the Nerd On Nation. They're dope people, and you get to be one of those dope people. So yeah, that's the housekeeping. That's it, and it was good. It was good.
And it would be good.
So that's it. Take care of yourselves. We heart you. You know the drill. As always, Nerd On.
Ending broadcast.